everyone. Welcome back to the End of the Internet podcast. I'm your host, Gonzalo, and if you found us, well, congratulations. You've made your way to the end of the internet. Here in the second week of 2019, we are dropping our year in review episode, which isn't as comprehensive as a lot of the year in review podcasts or video essays you might have found whilst traveling along the internet, but we decided that we wanted to kind of give our take on the year that was. Though this episode is a little later than either of us wanted it to be, we still wanted to have our say and put it up there to kind of wrap up our 7th installment. We spent some time talking about the year that was in entertainment, movies, video games. I touched on some comics, and our occasional third co-host, Mason, has some hot takes when we start getting into the minutia of the discussion. He's always a welcome to voice and a joy to have on the podcast. We kind of recorded this episode in stages throughout the day, and the energy kind of ebbs and flows, which I think is kind of funny, and sometimes it's hard to tell, but since I cut this together, it really stands out to me, but hopefully it doesn't stand out too much to you guys. We just really wanted to thank you all for coming along with us and listening. Anybody who listened to the podcast, who liked, who commented, who subscribed, who shared, who in the outside world gave us a pat on the back or, a thumbs up, a kind word, suggestion, an observation, all of it we deeply, deeply appreciate, and it's been a lot of fun to do this. I don't know that this was something that I ever thought I would ever actually do, but I'm super excited to have started a podcast in 2018 and on to the new year, especially with my co-host and best friend, Marcus. He's been a pillar of support and a ton of fun to talk to, and there's, a bit of distance because of life, but this has afforded us an opportunity to get reacquainted, and I really, really love that. So without further delay, here's our discussion on the year that was 2018 at the end of the internet. I hope you guys enjoy the show. We'll talk to you soon. Okay, so on today's episode, we are going to be talking about the year that was 2018 pop culture-wise, things that we were kind of into, the things that we enjoy or experienced or didn't enjoy, or things that we didn't experience. I think that some of the popular culture kind of passed us by because of just everyday life. We both have jobs, we have full-time jobs, you have a family. I have crippling depression. So
oh my god! And this is where the podcast is going. This is an intervention, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, so we just kind of wanted to do our year-end kind of review, and it's not going to be as comprehensive as a lot that you'll find on the internet, but you're at the end of the internet, so you take what you get this far out.
Absolutely.
What did you want to start with? What do you think? You want to do movies or games or?
I think we can start with. I'm starting to realize that as this podcast grows and I take stock of my surroundings and the stuff that I got for Christmas, that I might have to take back that I'm more of a casual gamer. I think I am more hardcore gamer, just not maybe knowledge-wise hardcore. Yeah.
You don't get to play everything, but you play a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the things that I'd like to cover that I would have more, I guess, knowledge on right now are some of the games that I enjoyed in 2018.
Okay, yeah, we can start with games then.
So, of course, 2018, we saw probably two of the greatest games made in a very long while in God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2. I was lucky enough to get both of those games. The little lady was able to pick both of those up for me, basically. So, with that being said, I couldn't tell you 100%.
Just so you know, he looked lovingly and longingly at his fiancée when he said that.
As she's making some delicious chili now.
It's New Year's Eve as we're recording this. So
yes, it is New Year's Eve in a couple of hours.
Yeah, this is the end of the year. We're skidding into this episode.
Yeah, we literally just Googled stuff. We are the absolute
ass end of 2018.
And that's how we do. This is why you come listen to us. But yeah, when it comes to probably two of the greatest games ever made, or not maybe ever made, but made in a very long time, God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2.
And when you say God of War, you're talking about the PS4, right?
Yes, okay. PlayStation 4, God of War. There really isn't a whole lot that I can't even imagine competing with those two games. That's how good they were.
What was it about God of War that kind of like stuck out above a lot of the like hack and slash adventure games that you had played over the past couple of years?
The huge shift in the hack and slash. It went from a kind of button mashy, and obviously it's not really button mashy, but the wild, chaotic, almost arcade-like, hack and slash of the original God of War series versus this one seemed more combat oriented in a way, like,
and it's like being a good God of War game, being the best one is important because the God of War series is notoriously good, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's held to a high regard. So
I think so. Okay. Story wise, I think, but okay. So when it comes to the God of War series, I've always felt that even though I've loved every bit of it, I love their take on the mythology. I love their take on the way the gods are. I've always had a weird relationship with Kratos. I love Kratos as one of the most badass characters ever. But I've hated Kratos because he's such a whiny bitch. Like, he is a whiny little bitch. And anybody who doesn't think he's a whiny little bitch needs to fucking come holla at me. Because he... Oh, yeah? Even Mason agrees.
Immediately was like, no, I don't think that.
even Mason agrees that dude is a little whiny bitch. He just really is. He's... I don't know. But in this God of War, storytelling-wise, and the way it just feels so much more mature. And not mature as in, like, context of violence and graphic gore or anything. Like, no, it just feels like, okay, this is the God of War series grown up. Like, this...
More sophisticated, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, it's in the same vein storytelling as The Last of Us. You know what I mean? Like, it is extremely beautiful. Mason loves it. It's extremely beautiful. Its combat is so different from its original series, but in the best way possible. I was really worried that the combat was going to be like something that was going to make me not like it, because I'm so used to God of War and the God of War series, but it's so fluid. Wielding that Leviathan axe is freaking phenomenal. But yeah, like, one of the things that just changed the game was its storytelling. Like, the storytelling in the previous games weren't super strong, but there were some good elements. This has been super strong through the whole way through.
Really?
And I haven't finished it yet. I'm toward the end. I need to finish it, but then Red Dead Redemption 2 came. And
one thing I was going to say about God of War is I came over and I saw you play it for a little bit, and we're constantly thinking, oh, video game graphics have evolved. They're great now. It's just like a given, right?
Yeah.
But seeing God of War 4, like, oh, that's what this system can do.
Yeah,
like, wow,
absolutely.
That is a pretty game.
And it makes me even more envious to see what it would look like on a high-end PC with a high-end monitor. Because if that's the way it looks on my 8-year-old, flat screen,
blue tinted,
then I want to see what it would look like on a PC. I think it would be phenomenal. Yeah, so then Red Dead came into my life.
Okay.
And it has completely consumed me, because I call it, and I've told so many people this. So let me be 100% clear. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the ultimate cowboy simulator. And everything from getting your horse and, robbing banks, robbing stagecoaches, fucking when you kill somebody and you can take shit off of them, like, jewels, bracelets, watches and stuff, and go selling them to a fence, for money. Picking, different kinds of herbs and vegetables and flowers in the field to make certain things and craft. Hunting is one of the coolest fucking things in that game. Going to hunt animals, like, you have to track them. You have to track their scent. You have to put ointment on yourself to remove your scent. Like, stuff like that. And then, of course, hunting an animal is one thing, but going after a legendary animal in legendary countries, land and stuff, is fucking badass. There's, like, these really hard to find. You have to really, like, pay attention to, like, your surroundings and, like, signs and trails and stuff. And, like, finding one of those big bastards and taking it down is really cool. And they're usually white, like albino-esque, like a giant fucking moose that's white and shit. And they're really hard to find. That's really, really cool. Fishing. I mean, all the stuff that you've ever done in one of those open world, like, oh, what did you do? And it's like, oh, I slayed a dragon. What'd you do? I picked flowers for 6 hours. You know what I mean? Like, it's the ultimate version of that, but it's also... If God of War is the most beautiful fantasy game ever made, like, as of right now, Red Dead Redemption 2 is the most beautiful, realistic game ever made. Yeah. There's too many times that I have been riding around in the open lands and have been jaw-dropped on how realistic things look. I mean,
Really?
mud effects, water effects, when it rains, when a storm's coming. It is mind-blowing how beautiful that game is. Now, control-wise, there are some issues. But when it comes to everything else, that game is so good at doing everything else that you forgive the controls easily, at least in my opinion.
Are they really bad or just kind of clunky or not
Clunky,
responsive?
but very clunky. Like, there's some times where it's like, so if there's a table in front of you and there's like a box of bullets, crackers, and a picture, it's like, oh, I want to go pick up the box of bullets, and you go. There's been more than a handful of times where I've like had to move Arthur left and right to line him up to pick up bullets because I don't want the goddamn crackers. You know what I mean?
Do you want the crackers? Yes, no.
Yeah,
Do
it's
you want
like,
the crackers? Yes,
and
no.
then sometimes the bullets don't even register. Like, the worst part, I can't tell you what the worst part is. It's either the bullets don't register or the bullets register for a second. It's like, press triangle to pick, press triangle to pick up, and you're like, what the hell?
What's
So you
happening?
literally walk away from the table and come back, to
to
kind of
reset.
reset it, and that happens a little too much. That shouldn't be happening in such a AAA amazing title, but because it happens, it's like, and every once in a while it does break immersion a little bit, but the game makes up for it in so many other things. Its storytelling elements are so good. The character development. So I played the first Red Dead Redemption, and anybody who's familiar with the series, well, technically not the first one.
Yeah, I was gonna say Red Dead Revolver.
But the one with John Marston, the last one that was on PS3, I played that game. And I completed it through completion. I know how it all ends. So to see a lot of these characters before that all happens.
Oh, this is a prequel game?
Yeah, this is a prequel.
Okay.
This happens, I think, if I'm not mistaken, please forgive me, Internet. I want to say it happens 8 years before the events of John Marston's Red Dead Redemption. But then again, I could be wrong on the timeline. Anyways, that doesn't matter. So it's a prequel. And seeing characters like Dutch Vanderlyn and all these guys that you know in the next game and what they're going to do to John and all the shit, the dirtiness that goes, you already go into this like, fuck you, Bill. Like, you see this one character, you're like, I hate you, Bill. I hate you.
Yeah.
And then as the game is progressing, you almost forget all of those things. And I don't know how Rockstar did that. Because, like, same thing with like someone like Dutch. Same thing with Bill. Two of these characters that I remember very, well in that Red Dead Redemption that I played. I almost like Dutch, but now it's interesting because as the game, I'm about 70% away from finishing the game, and I don't know if that's 70% completion, as in like you've done everything, because I feel like I'm really close to the end of the game. So I think that's just 70%. Like, everything you've done, you've completed 70% of the game, but I think I'm toward the end of the game already. Mm-hmm. And there's been some major turn of events. Not to spoil it for anybody, because I'm sure there's some people out there who want to play it. And I'm sure there's some people who don't even give a damn about what I'm talking about. But there's a little twist going on right now in the story that broke my heart. Mm. Like, I literally sat there and my controller slumped next to me. And I had to take a breath, and I just sat there staring at the TV. I called Tiff. I was like, babe. And she was like, what? And I told her the bad news, and she was like, I don't want to watch this game anymore. And she just walked off, and it was so depressing. But that's how good it is. I have cared so much about these characters and the way they develop them that I'm invested, And I'm almost, and I told my nephew this the other day. Shout out, Mikey. It's like I'm eager to beat the game. I'm eager to get it over with. But it's not a hit against the game. It's I'm dying to know the end now. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go fishing anymore. Yeah. Even though some of these side missions are like, go fishing with Bob. It's like, God damn it, I don't want to do that. But I like doing the side missions. I've gotten to the point where I want to see the end, because I want to know how this could, because I'm starting to see how it's starting to connect with Red Dead. Okay. And there's been some stuff with John Marston that it's making me go, oh, okay, this is how this is starting to connect, Mm-hmm. And I also have a little theory that I'll share later, or maybe at another podcast, about how I think something's going to happen. So Red Dead has my full attention, but God of War, every time I go select Red Dead to play, God of War is right next to it, and I'm like, God, I need to finish it too. I think the thing about something like Red Dead Redemption, games like The Division, because they're set a little more realistically, I like to see those all the way through in one shot, mm-hmm. versus the fantasy ones like a Zelda, like a God of War, I take my time with, and sometimes walk away from them for a while, because I don't want those games to end. Yeah. Because I know that once that game is over,
probably won't pick it up again.
I'm not gonna pick it up again, and I want to enjoy every second. Versus Red Dead, it's like, oh, well, it's just another period in history. You know, like I can fool myself to playing it again or playing it a different way. And I know those games you can too, but I don't want to. Like fantasy games, I hold on a weird higher standard that I'll take longer to play. But the more realistic ones, I want to go through them. So Red Dead, I want to finish. But those two right there, I can't think of anyone out there saying that those games are not as good or deserving of the props that they have been given. Those are two phenomenal games. So as 2018 is coming to the end, I am so happy that not only those games were released, but that I got to play them. And I am going to finish Red Dead. I probably won't finish it in 2018, obviously, because it's New Year's. Unless Gonzalo lets me play, but
maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's so good. But yeah, those are two of like my, oh my god, I have to talk that 2018 gaming wise. Those two right there were just so damn good. So that's what I want to start off with my little 2018 recap. What about you, buddy?
The only thing I played really that came out this year, hardcore, was Dragon Ball FighterZ. That came out at the beginning of the year, I believe. I can't really remember when it came out exactly, but I was really, really excited for it. And that game did not disappoint at all. I'm a big fighting game fan and big Dragon Ball fan. I love Akira Toriyama's manga, what I've read of it, and then the series, of course, all of us that are of a certain age watched it, after school on,
I watched the Frieza Saga. That's the only thing I know of.
Adult Swim and blah, blah. I remember seeing... I was such a ravenous fan for it when I was in high school that there was Univision, the Spanish station here, would play Dragon Ball unedited.
I do remember that. Yeah,
it had a different intro, and it was just so badass. So I would try to get my hands on anything I could. So when Dragon Ball FighterZ was gonna come out, I caught wind of it shortly before it came out. Somehow, just not as connected as I used to be. And I looked at some of the screenshots and the videos, and it's like, this is a fucking game that exists. And Arc System Works is the team that make Guilty Gear. Yeah.
Do they also work on Blaze or no?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Same team. And so there are a bunch of games that I really loved. I love the Guilty Gear series.
If you haven't played Guilty Gear, I strongly recommend it. It's not.
It's complex, but it's also just really fucking enjoyable. Yeah. And if you want to get deeper with it, you can. If you don't, you don't have to. It's still fun.
Yeah, exactly. I am nowhere near the sweaty like Gonzalo is with fighting games, but I like playing them because I like playing with Gonzalo when it comes to fighting games, and Guilty Gear is one of those games that I don't know a ton of stuff, but once you pick up on a couple of things, it's enough to get you by to have fun.
Yeah. And it's a game that you can play through the arcade mode and stuff in their story mode, and it'll give you enough pleasure to enjoy it.
Badass
yeah,
too.
the music's always great. The art direction is fantastic.
Heaven or hell?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
So the lineage of the characters and the property, and then the pedigree behind the studio really got me excited. So, and I wanted a good so Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite came out and it was dog shit, and I played it like one night and I was like, this isn't for me. I don't want to play this. There's this big gaping hole of like my versus Marvel heart,
Yeah, and the hyper.
Yeah. It's like 3v3 tag assist fighting game, and this game kind of came out and it filled that void completely. The animation is fucking beautiful. It's like anybody who watched Dragon Ball as it was airing, like there are different teams that work on different episodes. It's like all animation, and the bad episodes look terrible, and then the good episodes look phenomenal. And since this is like a kind of one and done project, it's like the best team was animating the entire show. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
So every like level 3 animation and the cutscenes and the dramatic finishes and all that look fucking beautiful.
They really do.
It's out of control how beautiful this game is.
And I like how the fighting mechanic to it can be so in depth for people like you, technically people like me, but maybe 3 tiers under. But someone like Mark or Tiff, people we know that aren't into fighting games or even never played a fighting game, it's one of those things where like, just hit this button a couple of times, you'll do a cool shit.
Yeah, it's a very casual friendly fighing game.
Yeah.
But also there's multiple layers to make it complex. Which I
love that. Because sometimes, I'm trying to learn something new, and other times like I just want to fucking hit you 8 times in the mouth, So that's really cool because I feel like there's a degree of balance to them. It's like, it's the casual friendly, so if you've never played, there's a simplicity to it. And then there's the version for me where it's like a little mixture of simplicity to fall back on as you're learning to play the deeper game. And then for you, it's like, no, there's a deeper game here and it's pretty badass. So I love that.
Yeah, it's a really inviting game. It's casual friendly, but there's tons of depth if you want to get into it. The competitive scene is intense. I think they made a pretty well balanced game. I mean, there's some things that are still kind of, broken in that game that people have figured out, and like the tournament scene is totally different, and there's some stuff going on right now with Toei that's preventing a lot of streams from having that game broadcast in their tournaments. So a lot of people are kind of like, what's the future of Dragon Ball FighterZ in the FGC gonna be? Nobody really knows. They might not even have it at Evo, which is like maybe a one and done. Yeah, so fuck Toei if so.
No shit. That sucks. I didn't hear about it.
Yeah, so there's over the past like couple of major tournaments, and going into the future, they're not gonna be able to stream it. So, but the game itself it's fun. It's really intuitive, and God, is it beautiful. We used to talk about like games that look like cartoons or movies, and this is one that I definitely feel like I'm controlling a Dragon Ball anime.
It really does.
Fucking crazy how I cannot get over like the beauty, like you're talking about, like God of War, and like these powerful machines that we have on our fucking entertainment centers can do something like this. Like, it's glorious to look at. It's spectacle, and I think anybody that looks at it, regardless if they're a fan of animation or realism or video games or not, they're going to see it and go, wow, that's a pretty looking thing,
Yeah, absolutely.
And they base everything on Toriyama's designs, and it's funny because there are characters from Dragon Ball Super that are in it, and Toriyama didn't have anything really to do with it. Like, I think it's like kind of his notes and his like plots, but the rest of the team kind of built it and went on, with his blessing. But he didn't draw any of the manga, so the manga is not as pretty as Toriyama's stuff is. But this game makes those characters look as good as Toriyama's art. Yeah, it's fucking like I said, I cannot get over how pretty it is.
It really is, guys. Like,
yeah, but as much as I'm gushing about the graphics, like the gameplay and mechanics are there too. Like it's very responsive. It's very interesting. There's a lot of I love 3v3 tag fighting games. It's the new Marvel 2. I think it's way more balanced and fun than Marvel 3 was, even though I really like Marvel 3.
Oh, I love Marvel 3.
It's crazy
and I can totally
bombastic
see where you're coming from with that. Like, I get that, especially like X Factor mechanics and stuff. Didn't really,
Yeah, and this has like some comeback mechanics, but they're not game breaking.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, just rely on this. It's like, no, it's going to help you, but it still has to be your skill. And I thought that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that game, and then just recently I got a copy of Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4, which I had to make space. It's a little PSA for everyone. I didn't know this. I guess I was the last person on the planet to know this, but every time you get a trophy on PlayStation 4, it takes a fucking screenshot. So I had fucking gigs of fucking screenshots on my PlayStation that I had to make room for to download Spider-Man. But I've started my vacation. I'm on vacation for a week, and probably starting tomorrow, I'm going to get into Spider-Man.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm really excited, to play it. I can't really talk about it now because I didn't play it before now.
Mark, I got that for Christmas for Mark, my son, and he's been playing it, and he is in love with it. Like, he's so, and this is someone who doesn't really play a lot of single player, story kind of games.
Yeah.
He's in love with it, and every time he comes into the room when I'm playing Red Dead, he's like, "You still playing this trash?" I'm like, "How dare you!" And he's playing Spider-Man, and I was like, so, because he had played Red Dead 2 also, and I asked him, I was like, so Spider-Man's better or what? He's like, Spider-Man's 10 times better. I was like, how fucking dare you? But I also feel that maybe, and it's going to sound so funny to say, but I feel like I get why he would love Spider-Man. He's a young man playing a really awesome comic book character. Yeah. It's like I feel like it's a perfect connection versus me.
Well, it's kind of like the demographic, right? Like, I think like a teenager into their 20s, kind of like Spider-Man might be more to people like us in their 30s and stuff. Like, I want to like slow it down and really like enjoy this meal that is Red Dead.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it is, because ever since I've been in a Red Dead game mode, I have horribly been torturing Tiffany with Western movies. So we've been watching like Tombstone, 310 to Yuma, and then of course I pulled out the big guns and we watched Unforgiven. She had never seen it, so that I think that's what it is. It's like old man Marcus wants to watch, old man, Unforgiven, because that's kind of what Red Dead feels like. It's starting to feel like that kind of like, it's like, oh, it says redemption in the story. Like it all makes sense. Versus Marcus wants to fucking swing on buildings and do cool Spider-Man shit. It makes sense to me. That's what I hear.
Some friends of mine that had played it say that like they have so much fun just like stopping petty crime and swinging through the city. Like, God, I can't wait to kind of like do that, because the last time I played a Spider-Man game, I played Spider-Man 2 for the PS2, and which is regarded as one of the better Spider-Man games to ever be made. And a lot of fun that was just swinging around the city.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. I've seen some videos, not a whole bunch, but enough to like pique my curiosity. And
he's gotten he's unlocked some suits,
nice.
and I'm like, oh my god, like that's already making me itch because I love unlocking suits and stuff. And
so they're introducing the PS4 version of Spider-Man. This reality will be introduced in the comics, and kind of like in line with Into the Spider-Verse. There's going to be another reality version of Peter. That's the PS4 version of Peter Parker, that PS4 suit and stuff. And I think there was a one shot where he fights proper Peter, like 616 Peter Parker.
Really?
Yeah, that was just released a little bit ago. So it's making a lot of headway. You know, people are really embracing this version of Spider-Man.
I've been hearing that this version of Spider-Man, not to say it is a definitive, I've been hearing a lot like it should be like one of the definitive, like this is a perfect Spider-Man. Like apparently the character of Peter Parker is really awesome. Like the way they portrayed him, his relationship with Mary Jane is like almost perfect. Like even the way that they have what's her stupid name, Aunt May. Like apparently Aunt May's awesome. You know, like the way just everything in the universe is. Like I've heard a lot of good things about it, so I'm actually really excited to play it.
There's so many comparisons to the Arkham series. And
yes,
that is a very distilled version of the character, but in its own setting, its own kind of mythology.
Yeah,
and I think this Spider-Man is that too.
Yeah,
you know, like this video game reality versions of these characters, and I think some of the things that I didn't dig of the Arkham series was just my little nitpicky, you know, like the way some characters look, but this is their own story, this is their own reality, this own version of like the Batman mythology, and this Spider-Man seems like that, and I'm really excited for it, you know, to play a game that builds and references the history, but also kind of makes it its own. You know, it's like, well, we're gonna do this instead, you know.
Yeah, and I really dig that too, because I was kind of worried about it. I was like, wait, what parts of the comics are you going to do? Or, you know, I didn't know what this game was, so the more and more I heard about it, I was like, oh, this is what you're doing. You're making your entire universe your universe. You're not going to pull from certain stories. You're just going to have them influence. And I thought that was really cool. So that gets me really excited. So as soon as Red Dead's done, as soon as I finish God of War, I will...
Yeah, seriously, like starting tomorrow, I'm going to get into Spider-Man.
Oh my God, I'm jealous.
And other than that, I haven't played a whole lot of video games. A lot of the video games I've seen this year, I've kind of like seen through you, and you told me about, or I've watched online. And something that you can't necessarily get away from throughout the year was Fortnite.
Yeah,
Fortnite was something that really continued to thrive. Yes. And I'm like a hair away from downloading it, but I'm not sure that I'm going to.
Oh no, I'm gonna sneak into your apartment. I'm going to download it for you, and then one day you're just gonna come in, and it's gonna have you're just gonna have the big screen. This is Fortnite. Yeah. I mean, it's been out for a couple of years. It's continued to grow. They continue to kind of push the envelope and create new modes and add new things. I mean, I think it's just a game that's going to continually thrive, and that really makes me happy because, you know, me and my family, we all play it. I have a lot of friends who play it, and I know a lot of friends who play it. It's just, it's constantly been this is what you need to do for other games, you know? Like, even something like Call of Duty Black Ops, like, they are doing certain things like that, too. They are doing the, you know, oh, this is a seasonal event, like, I think someone was telling me that it was like snowing in the level. It's like those little things mean the most. Like, I don't want to play. Okay, hold on, correction. I don't mind playing the same map over and over as long as there's an evolution to the map. And I think Fortnite created this perfect little story that isn't really a story. It's just like, I don't know if there's a lore to Fortnite. I have absolutely no idea. But ever since the first season, as they've gotten more and more, they've been telling these little mini cinematic stories and revealing new characters, revealing new gameplay. And I think that's so freaking cool. It almost makes me, and I know this is going to sound super nerdy, but that's the whole reason why we came up with this thing. It makes me want them to create like a story. Like, I would not hate, and I know this is going to sound really lame. Yes, I'm 35 years old. I get it. I kind of want them to make like a Fortnite movie, you know? I would go watch it because I want to know more about what's going on. Like, I feel like I started connecting dots and making a story up in my head with certain characters when they were revealed, and like, So with every season, they've had some kind of like escalation. Like one season there was a missile launch, and up until the missile launch, there was little things all over the map that were kind of hinting towards something big that was going to happen. Like even something as silly as like you would see a monitor in a house, and it would have like this logo, like a skull logo, whatever, and it would have the emergency broadcast, and you're like, what the hell? And as you got closer to the end of that season, there began a countdown. Mm-hmm. You're like, what the hell? Well, I think we were out of town. I don't remember why we didn't play it. But the weekend of the finale, missiles launched, and they flew into the sky while people were playing. So this event happened live, where the missiles launched. Yeah, the missiles launched, and some people got to see it. Some people were capturing it on their PS4s and PCs. And the missiles landed, and it destroyed a part of the map, creating a new part. And in doing that, it changed the game. It changed the meta. There was the big meteor, where the meteor came down and it destroyed a part of the map. But in doing so, it left pieces of itself everywhere that you could pick up, and that gave you properties to help you jump further, and you could travel the map, and do certain things. And it also gave off, like a sound wave, so you could also hear people. So it changed the game. It was really awesome.
That's cool. It's nice that a game continues to thrive, that is good, and I like that it is kind of like the same map, because then you can kind of like get the lay of it, and people can like to know if you're really good. There's no longer chance or luck or anything like that. It turns into more like a skill based game, and that's a lot of fun.
And I also like when they have certain changes, when they make certain changes, when they add certain weapons, when they take out certain weapons, and it's constantly changing the game. I always like that feeling where I see something new. It's like, oh, that's gonna break the game. Like, this is gonna be lame. And then through a couple of balance patches or through adding and subtracting, it just changes the game. It doesn't necessarily break the game. It just changes the game. And I love that. I think that's absolutely awesome. So,
would you like to maybe one day do a Fortnite episode?
Oh my god, yeah.
I feel like I could produce it, and then you and your family could talk about it.
Oh my god, I think that would be really fun.
Cool. But outside of those games, there wasn't anything that kind of like stuck on my radar. But I think it would be like a kind of a good segue. I don't know if you wanted to. Was there
the only other things that I like to shout out is something that just recently came out. It's Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Phenomenal freaking game. My only gripe with it is that you have to unlock all the characters, and I know that sounds like a really silly gripe in the era of DLC and microtransactions. I know that sounds ridiculously stupid, but it's only because I just want to play with everybody right now. It's like, oh my god, the game is making you play it and rewarding you with unlocking characters. It's like, yeah, I get what you're saying, and luckily my favorite character, Link, isn't one of those unlockable characters. But I just wish I had the entire roster. Because you look at my roster, I have like 12 dudes, 13 dudes, 14 guys. Mm-hmm. You look at my nephew who grinded the shit out of that. He has everyone unlocked already. So his roster looks amazing. My roster looks pathetic. And I'm like, oh, I want all these characters already. Because I want to play with so many to see who I like to play with. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Who's going to be fun. But it's not a gripe. It is a gripe, but it's not a gripe. I am appreciative of that, Nintendo. Thank you for not making.
That sounds awesome. I like that. Yeah, you have to just like earn them.
Yeah, and someone even like figured out on YouTube that the way you earn them, because everyone was like, well, how do you earn them? Like, oh, you have to play X amount of number of matches? No, it's actually distance travel. So someone figured out, it's like, oh, this is how you unlock all 72 characters in 90 minutes. So basically, it's like set up a 2-player game. Obviously, no one on the second controller, and you get someone like Sonic go to Final Destination, which is just a flat surface, and run back and forth for like 20 minutes or something like that. You just run for a 20-minute match, and then at the very end, right before the 20 minutes over, you knock out that character, and when it escapes out, when that character's gone, you'll get a new challenger approaching, and you can unlock like 4 guys back to back to back because it was distance travel. Okay. And I thought that was kind of cool.
That's funny.
So I think I'm definitely going to abuse that. Do that. You know. Yeah, I have to mention Smash Brothers, and like you mentioned the DBZ title. I think the DBZ game was phenomenal.
You had to mention DBZ.
Yeah, so DBZ, I actually bought that because you had seemed really interested in it. I watched a couple of YouTube videos. I always felt the DBZ in this entire series was like Star Wars for me. It's something that I was really into lore-wise, but I didn't want to put the effort into watching everything and learning about everything. I love character design. I love the ideas behind it, but I'm not so in love with it where I could ever become a sweaty. It's like I love the idea of DBZ and Star Wars. I just
because people make the comparison that like comic books are like American mythology, right?
yeah,
like
for
modern
sure.
mythology.
I've always loved that.
And most mythological tales are told like over campfires and passed down or whatever. So it's kind of cool that like you don't need to watch it or experience it, but you'll have somebody like I can tell you like, oh, this is happening in Batman right now, like the story arc. And
Yeah,
like,
it's like campfire stories and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
It's just how we spread it. It's like, oh, so I kind of know what's going on in the world of Batman or DBZ. Like, what is this referencing?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I can just tell you about it instead of like, you know, when people kind of like recite stories from the Bible or whatever. It's like you can read it, but you know the missive or whatever.
Exactly.
Is
so
cool.
my thing, the last thing I'd like to mention gaming wise, DBZ, was I had bought that game because you were interested in it, and I always seem to buy the fighting games that you're interested in because I'm like, well, this is not going to let me down, and DBZ did not let me down, so I thought that was really cool. So I had to throw that out there.
Yeah. And for Christmas you got the 1-Up arcade Street Fighter cabinet.
Oh my god,
which is really cool.
Yeah, so freaking Tiff totally bought the 1-Up arcade Street Fighter cabinet for me, which this guy over here sitting across from me already wore down the left stick.
It's a little rough.
That was one of the coolest, and that's what made me kind of take stock. Like I had to sit back. She also got me an NES Mini. I don't know. Yeah, so I have an NES Mini, a Super NES Mini, which I got last year for Christmas. I have the Street Fighter arcade cabinet now, and then of course Amazing Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption 2. These were all like, you know, little things. And I was like, oh I'm a pretty hardcore gamer, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's just like all over the house. You know.
Yeah, it's all over the house. So I was like, oh, all right, you know, that doesn't make me feel too bad anymore. I guess I'm a little more into it.
Yeah, that 1-Up arcade cabinet is not poorly made.
No,
you know,
it's really
fun.
good.
It's pretty. It's the resolution of the screen is really high. They're good ports of the game.
Absolutely.
I can't recommend it at $300 because I think Super being in there is a wasted space.
Yes, it really is. You bought 2 games.
Yeah, you bought 2 games basically. But still, like the novelty of playing on the joystick and stuff, it's really cool.
Honestly, just seeing it lit up and listening to it,
yeah,
it brings me so much joy.
It'd be so comforting. Like if I had one of those, they would just sit in my living room and be on until I went to bed and turn it off. You know, like it just hear it.
Yeah, that's the way it was. We had it in the living room for a while. I literally just put it into the garage, into my gaming den, and but even when I'm in there cleaning the garage, I turn it on and it brings me so much joy.
Yeah,
like it's almost like aromatherapy. You know, it's so awesome. But yeah, I think that's pretty much the games that I touched on when it comes to 2018 and
I think every year the gaming industry produces, I would say that probably about 50% of the things that they do are really good. There's really solid stuff. It's not like, oh, this is a bad year for games. You know, for the most part, the artistry and the quality just seems to go up.
I think there definitely was some bad in 2018. The Fallout 76 was a big one. Star Wars Battlefront 2 controversies, all of those things. But we need to stay positive on this one.
And then there's a lot of things that that went wrong or pear-shaped that we kind of just stayed away from. It wasn't something that we kind of like, oh, that's a thing. Well, I don't need to do that. I don't need to be involved in this whole debacle. I can just play what I want to play.
We're well aware of the microtransactions BS, the Destiny 2 microtransaction BS, the Fallout 76 BS, all of those things. Like, we're well aware of them. We could probably say that for a different podcast, but that year in review and the stuff that makes us happy, definitely, and the gaming part of that is everything that I kind of covered.
For me, I always think that like if one really good game comes out a year, then it's a successful year.
Yeah.
And we got at least 5. that were maybe some of the definitive versions of video games and some of the prettiest or some of the most lauded. You know what I mean? Like that's a fucking win.
Yeah.
And I don't think video games are going anywhere, but this year definitely kind of continued to prove how important an art form it is.
I know there was a big conversation going on in social media and the Twitterverse and all that stuff about, of course, in the gaming circles, that gaming companies were trying to spew bullshit that the single player solo game was dying or dead. And I love the fact that gaming companies could prove that wrong by creating something like God of War and Red Dead Redemption 2.
And Spider-Man.
And Spider-Man, absolutely.
Yeah. And even something competitive like DBZ, like the story mode I hear is phenomenal. You want to go through it and do dramatic finishes and do this like specific story. Like that you cannot get playing online with friends. Like, you do it yourself, you know, which is a lot of fun.
Which is always fantastic. The Smash Brothers little story, the little mini story in that is actually pretty cool, you know. And then they added like a lot of RPG elements to it, you know, so where you have to like level up your character to compete and complete the game, which I thought was kind of cool. So I mean, yeah, I love that all those things happen. Yeah, am I happy that Fortnite and Black Ops exist, that the multiplayer, you know, genre is thriving? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I'm more happy. Like, I didn't realize how much I miss single player games until I played Red Dead and God of War. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I love a good story, and both stories have like messed with me emotionally. There's just one right now is getting me more than the other, and like I'm almost not wanting to go back to God of War because I've heard a couple of little things, and I'm like, oh no.
I don't like. Oh, it's hard for me to enjoy experiences that are predicated on other people, right? So, like, I love movies, but it's hard to go to the theater because so many people are on their phones or so many people are talking.
Yeah, someone's going to mess it up for you.
Yeah, and, like, playing online, sometimes you'll run into really toxic people. But when you get to play by yourself, like, the story is just for you. Like, so I'm really looking forward to Spider-Man. It's like, I don't have to be online. I can just play this game.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of Spider-Man.
Segue.
We're going to movies, and I would say at the top of my list this year, Into the Spider-Verse was something that really blew me away. I don't want to get too into it because Marcus hasn't seen it yet, but the movie was on another level, I think. The animation and art direction was phenomenal. The character designs and the story was really engaging. And even though I'm a big comic sweaty and I knew some of the stuff that was coming in it, the build-up and the pacing was pitch fucking perfect. And,
I've heard that so many times.
Tears in my eyes in some scenes, and just like the deep, sweaty cuts of like Peter Porker and, you know, Spider-Man Noir and all this crazy shit that's in that movie. Really, like, I think a lot of really good movies came out this year, but my favorite of the year is Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh my god.
Like, hands down, you know, like everything else was kind of like, well, I think this was my favorite movie. Well, maybe it was this, you know? It's like, and then I watched Into the Spider-Verse and I was like, this is my favorite movie of the year.
I have got to get on that.
Good. And it's like, I was telling a friend of mine that, like, I'm constantly having to defend Superman, you know, or like my love for other characters. So the big ones that I really, really adore, I don't necessarily get to gush over, like Batman and Spider-Man. These are two characters that are super important to me, but I never really talk about, right? Because Batman's a little different, but I won't.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whoa, calm down, the guy.
Talk about Superman to people that is like, well, he's such a
he's a Boy Scout,
so much more than
he's
constantly
so much
talk about it.
Yeah,
and same with like Daredevil and Iron Fist and all these characters and the Hawkeye.
Remember we
used
to say that both about Superman and Cap? It's like, yo, he's such a Boy Scout.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
high school,
in high school, I was like, no, bro, what are you talking about?
We just constantly have to defend these characters. But,
yeah, for real.
So Spider-Man is someone who's like so well known in the pop culture lexicon, and I love the character, but I never get to talk about him. And it's cool to, like, I hate the phrase love letter, right? Like, I hate when people are like, this is a love letter to old Hollywood, or, you know, like, I fucking can't stand it.
I use it, actually. I think I've used that before.
And I think a lot of those things aren't that, you know, it's just like a copy or a ripoff. But Into the Spider-Verse was the first thing I'd seen in a long time. If
that made you say,
they go like, oh, this is a love letter to the Spider-Man mythology. This is a love letter to that character and the world he inhabits. I really like Miles Morales. I think he's a really fucking cool character. I don't think that there's any reason for there not to be this version of Spider-Man. It kind of started with an article that Mark Bernardin had written years ago. And then Donald Glover kind of caught wind of it, and that spilled over to Brian Bendis and Sarah Pichelli creating the character. But my favorite thing about this movie, and there are a lot of favorite things about it, and this is not trying to spoil too much, but
I feel like you're going to spoil a lot, guys.
There's an optimum version of Spider-Man in this movie. So, like, I think I talked to you about when Superior Spider-Man was going to come out, right? And I didn't know anything about it, and I thought, oh, I've been waiting for this, right? Like, when I read the title Superior Spider-Man, I thought, this is finally Peter going, you know what? Fuck all this. I'm a very smart, capable, powerful individual. I'm going to make myself be the greatest hero to exist in the Marvel Universe. That's what I thought, right? I was like, oh, it's Superior Spider-Man. Come to find out, it's Doc Ock. Who's inhabiting, you know, Peter's body and all this other bullshit. Like, it's kind of interesting, whatever. I just wasn't a big fan of it. But I've always... Like, so many people wanted 15-year-old Peter Parker, and people want unmarried Peter Parker, and people want, you know, like, all these different versions, but my version have always been interested in the like 26-year-old Peter that really understands his powers, that's like at the peak of his game.
Yeah.
And there's a version of that Spider-Man in this movie that I've never really seen.
Isn't that the main Spider-Man? I mean, not the main, but like the one that's helping
one
Miles?
of them. No.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why you're asking.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's this like uber version of Spider-Man, like just prime Spider-Man. And I really loved that. That was like my favorite part of the movie. But then there's so much family and connection and understanding and growth, and I don't know, it's just a really, really good movie. And visually, you just fucking watch it. It's fun, it's fun to see. And there are a million shout outs to comics and its history and the character's history if you have the right eyes for it. And it's something that won't necessarily fly over your head if you're at arm's length with the character, but if you're a serious deep cut sweaty, you'll get all sorts of crazy enjoyment out of it.
I gotta go see that, and I gotta go see it in theaters.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest seeing it in theaters. I don't think you need to watch it in 3D, but it's...
There's a 3D? I didn't even know
there's
that.
a 3D version.
That's how much I don't know, guys.
But, God, it's full of personality, it's full of love, it's full of warmth, and that is easily my number one movie of the year. I loved it. I want to go watch it again. Maybe again. I'm going to see it 2 more times before it comes out. What would you say your favorite movie of the year was?
Oh my god.
Or maybe it's one or two.
It's a tie between Infinity War. Well, I'm not even gonna say a tie. There is no tie. So Infinity War is one of my favorite comic movies of the year, but I think my favorite movie of the year pretty much just won it all. It completely shocked me and made me take a step back. Was Hereditary. So I feel like when it comes to horror movies, I used to be a real big fan of the horror genre, but I've come to realize that I haven't seen a lot of horror movies, but I think that goes back to that kind of weird, I'm a little, what's the word I'm looking for, snobbish. It's like, oh, if it looks anywhere near bad, I don't want to watch it, know. And of course some horror movies have surprised me to a point where it's like, oh, that was pretty good, or that was interesting.
And I think some of the tropes in horror movies are so pervasive that you can kind of look at some and go, I'm just watching the trailer, I've seen that movie before. Like, without kind of, you don't seem like a snob. It's like, no, the trailer obviously shows this movie is like this, and I don't need to see that because I've seen it.
Yeah, because there's a ton of movies that people adore horror-wise that I think are just not very good. And I think it's also one of those things, like I have a very active imagination, and it's one of those situations where I feel like I can scare myself, but it's going to take a lot for you to scare me.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things about horror movies that turned me off about them. It's you're jump scaring, you're doing these things that like I saw coming a mile away. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it sucks. But when it comes to Hereditary, I feel like someone went, Marcus, what scares you? And put all of that in a movie. Yeah. You know what I mean? Everything that's supposed to scare you in that movie scared me. And I'm not gonna, of course, we don't want to spoil anything. If you haven't seen it, you need to see it ASAP.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that movie.
But there's a couple of scenes, especially toward the end, that there was one specifically that I was kind of waiting for, but it didn't matter because they pulled it off so perfectly that I was just in constant cringe the whole time watching it, waiting for the big leap or the big something, and it kind of never came. So it really, kind of put you on, the line, where and oh, it's so good.
It's a very slow burn horror movie,
and I love those,
but not so much that I think it's boring. I don't think so. It takes a really strong filmmaker to do a slow burn and have it be interesting the entire time. I think Denis Villeneuve is another person like that. But Hereditary is that as far as horror movies go. I think the last one I saw that was like that was The Witch.
And I love The Witch. I love The Witch.
Yeah.
That's a movie that when people say, "Oh, I didn't really like it," I get it. I get why you didn't like it.
I totally understand why people wouldn't like The Witch.
Yeah, but to me, that's just such a phenomenal movie. I can literally watch that movie, and it's one of those movies that I can't put on in the background. I tried to put it on the background, but then I sit down and I start watching it. Yeah, I can't pull away from it. And I feel like Hereditary is another one of those movies. We've only seen it once, and I'm going to buy it. But it's haunted me so much that I feel like I've seen it like 10 times. Yeah, if that makes any sense. Because I played these scenes out in my head. I've heard the little music, that little tone that plays, and it's just it's such a ridiculously creepy, cringy,
it's very
scary.
atmospheric.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's.
I remember, so I watched it with my moms, right? And my moms are big horror fans, and I had been told for weeks that Hereditary was the scariest movie of the year, maybe the scariest movie of 5 years. That like maybe you should watch it before you show your moms because it might make them upset, whatever. And we watched it, and my mom was like, "That was okay," and like. For me too, like I was disappointed in that it wasn't as scary as I thought, but I've seen a lot of scary movies and foreign scary movies, so like a lot of the imagery and stuff I was prepared for. It wasn't terrifying the way people had made it out to be, but then I watched it again, and I think it's just such a well-made movie. I think it's fantastic, and there's a lot of creepy imagery in it. It's just I think what's happening is that like a lot of these horror movies are starting to get artistic people behind them. And they are being shown at like Sundance and these other film festivals. So there's a lot of like hoity-toity reviewers that are seeing horror for the first time, and they're like, "This movie made me shit my pants." It's like, well, you don't watch horror movies because you think it's a genre film. So they watch this and they think it's the scariest thing they've ever seen. But a bunch of us that are like Takashi Miike fans or whatever, are like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. It's a great fucking movie." But
and I haven't seen a lot of like foreign horror films, so maybe I need to start like dipping my toe in that pond because. I think that's another reason. Like, I'm so used to American horror that is just so cheap, or it's just a lot of them aren't very good, or it's just a cash grab. It's like, I know what you did last summer. Like, what?
Yeah,
but I think something like this was really creepy, and I loved it.
Some of the artists that are on the come up, their sensibilities are different than the average, studio head, and it's starting to show in the films that they make. And Hereditary is a great example of that. I think it's a really goddamn good movie.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Also scary. It's very unsettling. And I've been listening to the soundtrack recently a lot more. It's just the music is beautiful in that movie.
It's so funny because normally, and people sometimes hate watching movies with me because of it. Normally, I can like, oh, this is gonna happen, and then like 20 minutes later it happens, or I can call my shots, Yeah. And in this one, I thought I think I know what's going to happen. Oh my God, I think I know what's going to happen. And I said it, and then it didn't happen. And then something more twisted happened. And I went, oh, crap. This is not what I expected. This is not that movie. So that would probably be the best movie I saw. We did watch The Quiet Place, or A Quiet Place. I wasn't too big of a fan. I mean, I didn't hate it. It was all right, but for the accolades it got, I wasn't.
It's a fun, interesting little concept, and for like a first-time movie
director, writer too. I think.
Yeah, he directed the hell out of it. It's well directed. It's well shot. It's just I think the characters are a little dumb.
Yeah,
and I think it's like it seems more like a B kind of like grindhouse film than the like award winner or whatever. It's prestige. This and that. It was kind of dumb. I think it was like, no, this is just like a grindhouse horror movie, with some stupid people doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
And there's like so many things in that movie that either contradict itself or presents like, why not do this, dummies? Like it's just full of of dumb choices.
I think me and you are just super smart because we read a lot of Daredevil, and it's like we know how to deal with things that have supersonic hearing and stuff. It's like,
I wouldn't say super smart, but just like maybe a little rational.
Well, I was actually being facetious. I think it's just the fact that we read a lot of Daredevil, so it's like, oh, that's their thing. It's like, oh, I got this. It's like you want to knock out a symbiote.
The cast was good, and it's like something that I really enjoy or recognize now in film is pacing.
Yeah.
Like, can a movie move forward and kind of make you feel how it wants you to without losing you, either to social media or distraction or boredom,
Yeah.
And if a movie can do that, I'm really impressed. And I think A Quiet Place is something.
The Quiet Place. I'm telling
it's a totally different movie.
That HEB bin, Quiet Place.
The Quiet Place. I think the pacing of that movie is really good. I think it's paced really well. It's edited really well. I have a problem with the actual characters in that movie.
Yeah, me too.
But it's decent, It's a good movie. I think it's not as good as It.
Not.
And
I don't think so.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine at work, and we were talking about how there are a lot of movies, especially scary movies, that are made that are just well crafted, right? They're like solid B+ movies, but they get so much praise because that is so rare now. You know, like a well-made movie is not the norm. It's either big spectacle or a piece of dog shit. You know, it's never in the middle. And A Quiet Place are both examples of movies that's a well-made movie. You know, it's okay. You know, like that should be the standard. You know, and it got, especially I think, got a lot of praise. And it's like, that's a good movie, but I mean, it's not.
Yeah, and see, for me, like the praise that it got made sense to me, just because it was such a like well-made movie, and the characters and the damn kids, man.
The cast was good.
The cast really just knocked it out of the park. It doesn't make sense that to me why The Quiet Place got so many accolades, and I don't want to take anything away from it, but just to me, I was like, oh no, it was good, but whoa, let's put that gold medal down, like, you know, calm down with that. Like you did your job.
Yeah,
you should be rewarded for doing your job, you know, but. For it was like, oh man, you kids, give them a gold medal. Give them a gold star. That's awesome. Freaking Hereditary, give them everything.
Yes, God. Toni Collette is a monster. She's so good. Gabriel Byrne is a great actor. He's been around for fucking ever, and he always brings it in every movie he's in.
I think, and I know this might sound a little silly because it's not like I'm a big Gabriel Byrne freaking Patreon, whatever, but I didn't recognize Gabriel Byrne.
Oh, really?
Like it was like, who is this guy? He's awesome. I knew who he was. Obviously, it's not like I didn't. His acting was so good that I was like, I don't recognize you from any other movie. Like you feel different and new, and I loved it. The main actress, I always forget her name.
Toni Collette.
Oh yeah. She stole this show in so many freaking ways. It was so good. Like her performance alone really pushed me to believing everything that was going on the screen. You know, it was like that's such a damn good movie.
I think it was
buying it
last year, maybe. I think it was last year that it came out with the 3 Billboards.
Oh, I want to see that.
It's really good.
I want to see that.
I really like it, but it also has problems, and there are things in it that I'm like, come on, are we still fucking doing this? You know, there's stuff in it like that. But the main actress, she is really good in it, but the accolades that she got, I feel belong to Toni Collette in this movie. Like, she's so much better. And that's it. God, I can't remember her name either. The main actress from 3 Billboards, and she gives a fantastic performance.
Isn't it the lady from Fargo?
Yeah, what's her name?
Oh my god, what's her name?
I think it's something McDonald.
It is McDonald. It's Ronald McDonald.
She's won an Oscar, maybe 2, I think. And she's powerful and great in that movie.
I hope the internet's screaming at the screen right now.
They're like, it's fucking what?
It's Norm Macdonald.
But yeah, Toni Collette, I think she kills it in Hereditary. She's fantastic. But again, she's another one of those actresses that is good in fucking everything.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't seen her give a weak performance. The spotlight is always on her whenever she's acting, and this is no exception. Hereditary is a fantastic movie.
Frances McDormand.
Frances, God.
It's not even McDonald.
It's McDormand.
McDormand.
Oh my god.
Frances McDormand. Yeah,
We should put respect on her name. God. Crucify us, that's
I'm
fine.
sorry.
Right, I'm so sorry. She's good in that movie, but I think that Toni Collette is way better in Hereditary. A handful of other things that I can think of. I mean, of course, big, Avengers: Infinity War was really impressive. That's a movie that benefits from multiple watches. I think, like at first you watch it and it's like, wow, that's really impressive. I can't believe they did that.
And it got my 3-view roll. Like I watched it 3 times and I still enjoy it. So
yeah, and I've been watching it recently. Now it's on Netflix. It's interesting. It's just the fact that they could balance so many fucking people and characters and storylines,
and that you care about them still.
Yeah, and that their voices are right. You know, it doesn't sound like the Guardians are being written by someone else. It feels like the Guardians.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
And, they did this huge like comic book crossover that I never thought I would see in a fucking movie. You know, not in my lifetime. And they pulled it off. And there's a lot of, like, I have some problems with Thanos in that movie, but more of it, I like the character more. Like, I really like something that I saw in a video essay, which I thought was really cool, is that Thanos believes himself to be the adult in a room full of children, right?
Nice.
So he basically, when someone tries to tell you that Santa Claus is real, right? Or when someone's like, the Tooth Fairy, and you're like, you poor little child. You know, that's how he views everyone. It's like, are you kidding me? You're going to wipe off half the, living population of the universe for this? You know, you're a madman. And he's like, you poor child.
Yeah.
You know, like he pities them. And he's like, you just do not have the vision that I have, and you do not have the will that I have. You are a child.
Yeah.
And that's how it always
don't
everyone.
get
yeah,
it.
You just don't get it, you know? Which I think is very interesting. And
Yeah,
there's
that
a
is
lot of moments that I really like more now that I've watched it, like when Doctor Strange says, "Congratulations, you're a prophet," and he just like looks like I'm a survivor, and that's it. That's it. You just gotta know that. I think it's full of great character interaction. That's the best thing about comics is the character interaction and seeing a lot of these characters bump into each other. Is really cool.
I feel like, and I know this is gonna sound so stupid because it's like, duh, that's what it is, dummy. I feel like Infinity War is the perfect. Like when you watch the big events and stuff, and you have all these characters in a room talking. I feel like somebody in the room, like kind of how we used to do back in the day. It's like, okay, these are the characters we're gonna play with. So now we're going to split them up, but we want the most randomest teams. It's like, put Iron Man and Doctor Strange together. It's why, you know? I thought that was so freaking cool.
How does Spider-Man react to Star-Lord, you know, or whatever?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, how does Star-Lord and Thor get along? You know what I mean? Like, all those little things were so freaking awesome. I adore watching that movie, and I adore watching the characters on screen. One of my favorite things is obviously I love Cap. I think Cap in the entire MCU is my favorite character, hands down. Spider-Man a very close second.
Really?
But only because it's like, oh, you've only been here for a little while, you know? When Cap had his reveal in Infinity War, I was one of those people who let out a little in the theater, you know?
Even though it was in the trailer, I was still like super hyped for it.
And then I was one of those guys who was like, look at Cap with that beard, he's so sexy.
Why does he have the 90s part?
I love it. So I made Arthur look like that with the 90s part. It's awesome. The Red Dead Redemption 2 hashtag. But one of the things that I love about that movie is that it made me love a character that I didn't ever really care about. Yeah. I love Doctor Strange in that movie. I saw Doctor Strange in the movie. I like it. I thought it was pretty fun. Good little movie. The end was a little, but I was like, oh, Doctor Strange, pretty good character.
Matt Mikkelsen is wasted in that movie. He's so good. And somebody had said that they thought he would have been a great Doctor Doom. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, he would have.
He would have been a perfect Doctor Doom.
I actually thought that without having talked to you. I was watching this movie going, why aren't you Doctor Doom?
Matt Mikkelsen would have been a great Doctor Doom.
He would have been the greatest Doctor Doom ever. He would have been on the level of freaking Michael Fassbender Magneto.
It's like Heath Ledger Joker, like a pitch perfect fucking Doctor Doom.
Oh my god, that's our next top 5. So, but yeah, I really, really dug Doctor Strange in that movie, and that movie wasn't trying to push Doctor Strange on me. You know what I mean? It was just like, no.
The battle between him and Thanos, like just them two alone, is so good. It is so.
That whole battle with that crew when they were fighting him was so freaking cool. Nothing I'd ever really expected. It was so badass. Like I felt like a little kid watching that movie. Yeah. And I feel any movie that makes you feel like a little kid did something right. You know, I kind of want to see that new Transformers movie just because they all look like Gen 1 characters.
Bumblebee.
Buddy Eli said that it was actually pretty fun. Like nice little family movie.
I hear it's good. Was Stephen Knight?
Yeah, and I dig that. That's awesome. But going back to Infinity War, I know when certain movies come out, you know, there's like a trilogy or there's going to be another one or a finale. I'm always excited for the next one. Yeah. But I don't think I've ever been as excited. Like this was like Dark Knight level excitement for the next Batman. This was that one. Like when Infinity War was over, I was torn because I was like, I want more. You know, it was like, give me more, and nothing could fill that void. Like I would go watch like the other Marvel movies, and I was like, this is all garbage now. Like I can't watch any of you except for Civil War. I mean, Winter Soldier. That movie's still great. That movie's still great.
What we're gonna do anyway. So like Infinity War, the only real gripe I have with that movie is that it is inherently unsatisfying because it's part 1 of 2. Right? We know we can't get the whole story in one go, which kind of sucks. But the more I watch it, the more I love it. And there's something like the little details are always something that, you know, I like harp on. And there's a scene at the very end of the movie when Thanos is like in his hut, you know, and he's like going to sit down and look at the sunrise. He does this weird, like he's trying to get to where he wants to sit, and he's all fucked up. And he does this little like stutter step, like he loses his balance because he's off balance because he's still wounded. And like that right there is like one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Just that, when the camera's coming around his shoulder and he's like trying to get to where he's sitting to look out on the sunset, he like hops twice because he's all fucking messed up. Yeah. And he sits down and he's just like, he takes a big deep breath, but it's beautiful. Like, who renders that? You know, to do that.
Who thought of that?
Yeah, to put that much. So that grounds him to me as a character more than any other part in that movie, where he just kind of like, he like hops because he's wounded, you know? Like, I love that scene. It's so cool, and the music is really good. The violin's playing at the end.
Yeah, it's so cool.
It's awesome.
It's such a good scene.
There's like and everybody seems to kind of get their moment, you know? Maybe not as much as, like, diehard fans might think. Like, let's say, like, Mantis is your favorite character of all time. There's enough there for you, you know? And same with everybody that's in that movie. But I think the next movie will kind of flip it. Like, I feel that Infinity War is Iron Man's side of the Avenger conflict, right? Mm-hmm. The Thanos conflict. I think Endgame will be Cap's side of it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which I'm really looking forward to.
I don't think he's going to make it, bro.
Probably not.
I don't think he's going to make it.
I don't know.
I'm going to cry. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to cry. If Cap goes out, if he goes out, calling it right now, ladies and gentlemen, if they go out in like this like final charge and he gives out an Avengers Assemble.
He's finally going to say it.
And then he dies afterwards, I will cry.
You know what's going to happen? Is that like he's going to be laying on the floor dying. And the last thing he'll say is Avengers Assemble.
Oh,
that'll be
in the podcast right now. Yeah. I'm done.
That'll be what happens.
Damn.
And then I will just start falling apart.
Yeah.
I'll start crying.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Now with or I'm gonna throw or at you or Cap. We're never gonna get Cap to say it. Steve Rogers is not going to say it. You know why? Because he's going to die, and Bucky's going to pick up his shield, and he's going to say it, and that'll introduce Bucky as the new Cap.
No, I don't think
so. It's so good! It's so good!
He's dust.
I'm calling it. Hey, he's coming back.
Right, I'm interested to see, like...
who is actually going to come back? Because everyone's like, not everyone is going to come back.
Yeah, they just can't. I mean, like, regardless of, like, contracts and stuff, I think it'd be not interesting if everybody came back.
Yeah,
you know?
it goes back to the great problems of comic books. Mm-hmm. You know, when life is no longer a serious, like, oh, we lost this person, mm-hmm. It starts to take away from the story.
That's probably the biggest problem with the MCU in total is that death is so frivolous. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything at all in this 10 years movie TV show, you know, like mm-hmm. Death does not matter. Everyone knows that anyone that dies is coming right back.
Yeah,
or they didn't really die or whatever. Yeah. But Infinity War is, I think, it's the first time in Hollywood that something like this has happened. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people talk about it, and there are a lot of like snobby. Squad. No, I'm just kidding. There's a lot of snobby people that are like, I'm so fucking sick of Marvel movies and blah blah blah. You know, it's like, oh yeah, that's fine. You know, they're not for you. But
yeah, don't be a shithead about it.
Yeah, like
I'm sick of Harry Potter.
Yeah, well, just
kidding. I'm not actually.
I am fucking. I don't need to ever hear about Harry Potter for the rest of my life. But 10 years, something like 20 movies, you know, all in one shared universe, leading up to the ultimate standoff with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, that's fucking bananas. And only in comics. And everyone's like, why do people like comics? That's why. You know?
Yeah, that's why.
That's some of the stuff that really, like, why did we love Crisis on Infinite Earths? You know, why do we love comics? Because we have a shared universe, and all these motherfuckers know each other, and they can all get together and
it's one thing
pound ass.
When two characters, like, cross over. It's another thing when there's maybe three, but when you have an entire roster of, like, 10, 20 heads coming together to fight a greater evil, because that's that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, wow, that's badass, you know? And then it's so cool because I always love that argument where someone's like, okay, Cap's a super soldier, but what is he going to do against, you know, this person? And it's like, he's going to take out ground troops, and he's going to do the commanding. He's going to strategically place people where they need to be. Like, Cap is essential. That's like when people say stupid shit about Batman. It's like, what's he going to do? Everything.
Right, he's going to win.
Yeah, Batman is going to strategize the shit out of this. But yeah, for sure. Yeah, Infinity War was fantastic. I can't say enough about it. I'll probably watch it a little later. You know?
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be the New Year's Eve movie.
Mm-hmm. Right, just have it on in the background.
Yeah.
Black Panther came out this year.
Good movie. I watched it a second time. I was like, okay, I still like it. The third time I watched it, I was like, I didn't hate it. I still like Black Panther, but it did lose some of its luster. Yeah. Black Panther and Wonder Woman both were like movies that I adored when I first watched them, but after a couple more watches, I was like, oh, okay, they're all right. They're just okay.
Yeah, Black Panther, I really hate the ending where him and Kilgrave are fighting each other.
Oh, that was
in their suits. Ending. Like, it looks terrible.
It's
like
bad.
I like the ending conversation, but yeah, it looks terrible when they're fighting each other.
I thought that was me. I thought maybe I was being a little, but the more I watched it, I was like, "Oh, this is
bad.
Did you run out of money? Like,
yeah, or why even do this? You know, like I feel like that's where. How come your fingers aren't on that particular pulse? A lot of people are like, a big problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that the hero fights a version of themselves at the end. It happens again.
I've been complaining about that since Iron Man.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we get to fight a third Iron Man.
So
cool.
Iron Man was like, okay, cool. What are you gonna do? Right? It's Iron Man, but as each series went on, you know, I think part of the... I'm not a big fan of the first Avenger, but I think that him fighting Red Skull at the end was interesting.
Yeah,
it's kind of like ideals are clashing and stuff like that. You know, it's more than just like a fist fight of like Cap versus evil Cap. You know, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Black Panther kind of...
Even though someone could probably argue that it was Cap versus evil Cap because he was super soldier also. I guess but, yeah. But then it's so dumb because they can say that about everything. It's like, oh, it's evil Batman versus good Batman. Yeah. It's like, well, no, stupid.
Yeah.
But I actually agree. That was its biggest problem. Like, you're just constantly making a evil version of a character, and it just starts to become very unappealing. Or you just can't deliver on a villain. Like, I really wanted to like, what's her name?
Hela.
Hela. I was gonna Hera.
Yo.
I really wanted to like her, and she was just a fucking cardboard cutout. Yeah. It was awful. You know, I really wanted to like the dark elf in Thor. Was it 2 or whatever?
The Dark World.
Yeah, the dark and that.
Malekith.
Ugh, it was awful. Yeah. And I like that actor. The dude from
Christopher Eccleston.
Yeah. Hey, dude, stop throwing that name.
But I don't know Francis McDonald, right? McDormand.
Norm McDonald.
God damn it.
Norm McDonald.
She deserves respect. Fuck Christopher Eccleston.
But no, going back to what I was saying, that's the biggest problem of those villains. And I think that's why I think kind of going back to what you were saying about like the snobby movie film people watching a good horror movie thinking it's the greatest thing. I kind of feel the same way sometimes about Thanos. Like, I like Thanos, but I see all the flaws with the character, and I get it. But because the Marvel villains have sucked so badly, this dude is like the greatest thing since sliced bread, which makes me go, man, Nicholson should have been dope.
And it's cool. Like, I really like how, you know, through the storytelling, they kind of, and you don't even like maybe register it at first, but I mean, a lot of people smarter than us might have. The beginning of the movie, Thanos kills Loki, right? So it's basically this bad guy just easily eliminated the main villain from the first Avengers movie.
Oh yeah,
like you know what I mean? Like the whole reason, like the hardest thing we're fighting against,
man.
right? Like like we're fighting Loki, right? He's just laying everything to waste, and then this guy just grabs him by the throat and kills him. Like it's nothing, you know? It's like,
well, you could argue that Loki was weak because he started to care. No, I'm just kidding.
True.
But
and of course, Loki's obviously
Loki was never really.
Dead.
Oh, he's dead. He was never really a threat. That was Thanos' crew. That was I let you borrow those big guns. Like, you ain't nothing.
He's like Krang. And like Loki's like Shredder.
Yeah, he's like, you're
they
not.
They gave him tech from Dimension X, and he's like, you fucking idiot. You couldn't do that.
You couldn't even do that with my stuff. I feel like, oh my god, I had a really interesting thing to say. Shit, I feel like Loki in that Marvel universe is the perfect. Like, how do you describe Loki? It's like, you know that scene where where Hulk picks him up and smashes him after Loki's talking all that shit? That's Loki to me. Like, 100% in every movie is like, calm down, guys. Stay in your lane. Right. You're not a threat. You know, you use Thanos' shit. Like, you need to just stay in your lane because you're going to get hurt.
Yeah,
and
he
did.
Infinity Stone, so.
Thanos gave it to him!
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. He had that, though.
Yeah.
He had, like, the tool that helped him out.
And then you couldn't even figure out that he couldn't do that to Tony. Clink, clink. Come on, man. Thanos would have been like precious.
Was there anything else that you saw this year that was kind of good? Like, I really liked Mission Impossible Fallout.
I have not seen it yet.
Really good.
As much as I'm a huge pop culture guy, I've come to notice that it takes a very long time for me to watch certain things. I need to see that. It's a little harder. You have
a newborn, you know, like.
Don't make excuses because I was like that even before.
But a lot of people like don't recognize how hard that is. You know what I mean? Like what are you sacrificing to be a good parent?
Not video games.
You know? But that you get to be home for.
Yeah.
And there's probably a large contingent of people that are like, thank you for keeping your newborn at home.
Yeah.
You know, so I could enjoy this movie.
Yeah, for sure. We will never be those people. Don't be those people. And if you have, stop. But yeah, besides that, I mean, I can't think of anything else.
I was really, really happy to see like Solo crash and burn. That really made me happy. The movie looks super boring. Like, it looks like nothing of a movie. And I'm sure that there are plenty of people that can defend it or that say like, well, you haven't watched it, so you shouldn't judge it. It's like, that's true. You know, I haven't given
You're
it
100%
a fair
right,
shake,
but
I haven't seen it. And Ron Howard is not a bad director at all. But none of it interests me. I just do not care to see it.
But I think that goes back, for me at least. I'm not gonna say for you, but for me at least, I think that just goes back to the character. Like, I think Han Solo is cool, but I don't need to see a whole movie about him or a prequel movie about him. Like, you mean to tell me that you're gonna give me more about Han Solo? I know everything I need to know about him from the original movies.
And part of his appeal is his mystery. You know, like, I get so sick of movies kind of like having to write everything out for people, for these characters that have an air of mystery. Part of what makes them cool is the mystery. And though I just said that, I am very excited to see the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie.
I knew you, because that's exactly what I was gonna say. It's like
I don't need to know Wolverine's real fucking name.
Yeah,
you know, like, Logan is fine. Like, I don't need to know.
Like, I think the other day you were telling me, I don't even know if it was podcast related. I think the other day you're telling me, it's like, oh yeah, we all know that the Joker when he was growing up was abused by his father, and I was like, I don't need to know that.
Yeah,
I just need to know that this motherfucker's sick. But now, then I also go, oh, that makes sense.
But that's
more
what
sense.
I like. Like, we never see. Well, when I was growing up and I was reading a lot of X-Men comics and stuff, a lot of what we learned about Wolverine was through memories or flashbacks or stories told. Never a definitive, right? Never like, here's a book about what he did with Maverick and Victor Creed and all this shit, right? It was just kind of like, oh, I remember this time when he did this fucked up thing.
Yeah.
So it made him like, oh, I wonder if this is true or that's true. But when they gave him a proper origin and gave him a real name and all this shit, it's like,
it takes away. It takes away from
Wolverine just isn't as cool as he used to be.
Yeah, exactly.
He's still a great character. I still really like Wolverine. I just think that they gave too much.
And I agree with that, because it's always funny, because when someone refers to Logan as James, it does still bother me a little bit. It's like, oh yeah, I remember all that. That's canon. Like, oh yeah, James, was it like Rowland, Howland, something? His name should have been James Wolverine.
James Areen.
James Areen. His name should have been James Sneak
Areen.
But yeah, I mean, there wasn't a ton of movies I got to watch. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff I wanted to watch, but I just never got around to.
Yeah, I thought the Meg was more fun than it should have been, but I mean, it's a.
I was surprised that you even watched that, but then
brain dead movie. But
yeah,
my mom loves shark movies. She'll watch any shark movie the way I'll watch almost any comic movie. So Jason Statham fighting a shark. Yeah,
Jason Statham fighting a shark, ladies and gentlemen. A sentence I never thought I would hear.
What I went to the theater to go see.
Does he punch
I like
the shark?
Venom. I like Venom a lot. Again, not a perfect movie, but a fun movie. I don't know. A lot of people have problems saying, "Oh, this is a fun movie." It seems like a cop out, but.
Yeah,
you know,
I have no interest in watching Aquaman in theater, but I do kind of want to watch it illegally somehow, some way.
Yeah,
I've heard good things, but I still don't want to watch it in theater.
And it's making all the fucking money, which is surprising, but inspiring at the same time. I don't know. I can't think. I saw what was it called? That rock movie.
The Die Hard wannabe movie?
Yeah, Skyscraper.
Skyscraper.
I saw that.
That looked so boring to me.
Like, if you like a one man beating a team of bad guys movie,
I watch Die Hard.
Like, that's true. I mean, you can watch Die Hard, but if you're tired of watching Die Hard,
that's true.
You get tired of watching Die Hard, but if you wanted another version of that,
I know a ton of people who watch Die Hard at least 3 or 4 times a year. I think I watch it like once every 2 years, so I don't get tired of Die Hard when it goes like, oh shit, Die Hard's on. So I think that's. I didn't get to see Creed 2, and I think that's one of the
Creed 2 is
besides
really
Spider-Verse. Creed 2 is one of those movies that's like, I need to get out of the house. I need to go watch that movie in theaters.
That is also a really good movie to watch at home. Like, I would definitely recommend Spider-Verse over.
Oh, of course. No, for sure. That is the movie I'm going to watch next.
Yeah.
Whether it's next weekend or the weekend after that, I'm going to watch Spider-Verse. Whether Tiff goes with me, whether Mark goes with me, whether I have to go by myself, whether I take you.
Take me.
I don't care. I didn't get to watch Deadpool 2. I know
Deadpool 2 is another movie that came out this year. I thought, actually, when they first came out, Deadpool 2 and Infinity War were real close to each other, and I had more fun watching Deadpool 2. I liked it more. It was a bit more sweaty for me somehow. Like, there are a lot of deep cuts in that movie.
Cable's in it also.
Yeah, Cable's in it. I fucking love the character, which I'm a little disappointed with. Like, the version of Cable that's in that movie is a little too bro-y for me, but he's just not as smart. I don't know. He just doesn't seem as together as the Cable that I know, but whatever. I still really, really like that movie. There's a bunch of fucking random shit, like Shatterstars in that movie, and I think I told you about it. Like,
no, I didn't know that. I love Shatterstar. I didn't know that. I know Juggernaut's in it. I was like, oh my god, that broke my heart.
How did you know Juggernaut was in it, but not Shatterstar?
A fucking spoiler.
Okay.
I saw him for a second, and I was like, and I killed out of it. So
you know how they're doing the recruitment, and it's like, what's your power, that kind of thing. So Shatterstar shows up, and he's like, people call me Shatterstar, and they're like, okay, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm from Mojo World, and he's like, oh, so you're an alien? And he's like, yeah, I'm basically better than you at everything. And just the fact that he said, I'm from Mojo World was it for me. I was like, are you kidding me? This motherfucker, this movie in 2018 said Mojo World. I never thought I would see it.
I gotta watch that movie, man. I gotta watch it. I'm very upset with myself that I haven't seen it yet.
There's a Nicolas Cage movie that came out this year called Mandy. And I was kind of telling you about it a little bit. That movie's bananas. It's really good. Better than maybe it has any right to be. Nick Cage is really good in it.
Really?
Yeah. I like that he's kind of like, I'm just gonna do these smaller little movies and I can do whatever I want. I don't need to like have so much pressure and studio behind me. I'll just make these little movies.
I was reading an article, and I don't know how accurate it is, but they were like, the reason why he's doing all of these movies and he's just like churning out movies is because he's trying to pay his taxes. Like he went bankrupt and like he owes a lot of money, so to avoid jail time, he's just been like cranking out movies.
Maybe.
And I've read that a couple of different like places, respectable sites and stuff, and I'm like, hey, you know what? Do you? But I'm glad to hear that one of them was good. Because
but Mandy seems like it was such a low budget movie and so kind of under the radar that it seems like, and he's so good in it that you think like, if this was for money, I don't see it.
Well, I mean, I guess any little bit, you know what I mean?
Maybe too, yeah. I mean, or maybe just turn it on. Maybe he's that good an actor. He's like, okay, I'm just down this now. Okay,
Yeah, because I was watching I watched a lot of Ralph the Movie Maker, and he was doing a Nicolas Cage-a-thon, and he was talking about a lot of that stuff too, and like the movies he was making and how bad they were. But I want to say I think he mentions that because when you told me that, it sounded really familiar. I think he mentions, and I think he liked that movie too. So I'm gonna have to check that one out for sure.
So was there anything else that maybe stuck out to you over the past year you want to shout out before?
Honestly, I can't think of anything. I still want to see Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Oh yeah, that came out. I forgot that came out.
I still want to see Incredibles 2, even though I heard it wasn't very good. Like it wasn't that great.
It doesn't look very good. I mean, it's an Incredibles movie, but
yeah.
I'm not particularly.
Other than that,
I might not ever watch it.
Yeah, other than that, I don't think there was anything that came out that right away, or nothing that pops up the top of my head. I feel like I was blessed to see freaking Hereditary, so I'm good on that. But other than that, I mean, I haven't caught up with a lot of the Marvel movies, but after Infinity War, I'm like, I'm all right.
Right? Yeah.
We're ready for Endgame. So
into comics, I read quite a few comics this year. I'd say that probably my favorite superhero book was Mr. Miracle. It was a 12-issue miniseries by Tom King and Mitch Gerads. I believe that's how you say his name. I think they did a fantastic job with the old Kirby character, and it's just beautifully drawn, and it's really well written. I read a lot of Tom King's Batman run, which I think is a solid B. Like the highs aren't as high and the lows aren't as low as Snyder's run, but Snyder's run is full of classics, and I think Tom King... I think
Snyder's run was the last thing I read.
Really?
Yeah.
The Tom King stuff, there's a lot of really fun, cool shit in it, and he did a 3-issue story arc called Cold Days, and so with Lee Weeks, and it was just after what happened, the fallout from his marriage with Catwoman and how that played out. Batman gets summoned to jury duty.
What?
And it's just like, the way it reads, it's like the best animated series episode you've never watched, that was never produced. It was so good.
Really?
I was really, really entertained by that. There's tons of great comics that came out. Infidel at Image was really good. It's still going, and it just got optioned into a movie, I believe. And there's just so much that I picked up throughout the year. Brian Bendis going over to DC was really important. It really shook everything up. He started his run on Superman this year, and
how's that been?
It's been good. I like that he leans really into the journalism aspect of it, and there's a lot of stuff that Clark Kent can do that Superman will just get in the way of, and I dig that. And he's obviously a married family person, so he can bring that to the and not that other writers and artists haven't done that already, but there's something about like the way that Bendis really kind of tells that story, and they're kind of like what we were talking about earlier, where I have to defend other characters, so I can't talk about my love. Bendis is obviously been at Marvel for decades, And now he can kind of like, no, I really love Superman. Like, I really love Superman, you know? And gets to shine writing that. He's going to be bringing back Young Justice, and I'm excited about that. And I think DC has a lot going for it right now. Kelly Sue DeConnick's taking over Aquaman, and there's just a lot of energy over at DC. And I think Marvel is trying to find their feet again. Like, after there was this mass exodus of all these great creators that left kind of some gaping holes, and they had some missteps with some stories, but now I think they're starting to get it. But
it's just so weird. It's like this weird reversal. It's like our movies are awesome, and the comics, we're trying to find our footing. Versus DC's like, oh man, we're kicking ass and taking names, but our movies suck.
Yeah, and the same thing happens in the community. Like, there was a period where Marvel was just killing it in comics, and DC just didn't know what to do with themselves, you know. And now it's flipped.
So weird.
It'll constantly do that. You know? Yeah. It's been a dream of mine to read Wildstorm. That it's 24 issues that Warren Ellis is writing, and it's about those characters that I love to pieces. So seeing this kind of like new reality reworking of those characters in that mythology makes me very happy. I love Wildcats, I love Stormwatch, I love The Authority, all these things.
Oh man,
so
The
seeing
Authority.
them, put kind of like into modern context is really fun. And by Warren fucking Ellis is writing it.
The man.
So that's good. I know Grant Morrison's doing Green Lantern now, which is
really
crazy to think about. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Brian Azzarello is still writing superhero comics that he fucking hates, and it kind of shows. It's just kind of like, Image is still killing it with tons of random interesting books that just, I'm so happy there's a home for these things, you know, artistic comics.
If that's one thing I miss being like super sweaty into, it's the comic scene. I think it's been years removed from the comics that you're my go-to when it comes to like learning and remembering and keeping stuff, you know, keeping me up to date. But yeah, I think the last thing I had slowly read a little bit about was Batman and Catwoman getting married. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but I want to read it, you know. But I haven't. I think I need to bust out the app and start downloading them, because I'm never going to go to a comic. Yeah, I'm never going to go to a comic store again. I used to be that guy. I was like, no, I need the comic.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I just want to read them, so I guess I'll just put it on my phone.
Yeah.
Got a $1,000 phone, might as well use it.
Right. But yeah, and that can like brings me to, there's a gentleman named John Schnepp who passed away this year. He had a stroke and was not able to recover from it. He was a writer, a director, a creator, a poet. He did just about everything an artist could do. And he reviewed movies and comics and stuff. He worked with a company called Collider and ran a show called Collider Heroes, where they would talk comics and comic movies and properties. And that's where I get the term sweaty from. I heard him say it first. Like, he was talking about getting really sweaty and how like sweaty nerds are like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was such a perfect term, and I love it so much. I just, you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna get really sweaty about this thing. And I'm not one to really get emotional when it comes to celebrity deaths. It's just not something that really connects to me for whatever reason. But this one did. This, like, losing John really fucked me up. Like, I cried. Like,
oh my god!
Like, there were these
crippling depression.
Yeah, there were these two retrospectives. There was a Heroes special and a Collider movie talk special where they just talked about like remembering John, and like, God, if you ever need a good cry, just watch the Heroes one.
Oh
like,
man,
it's such a rough watch. But he was bigger than life and well loved. He's also known for, he like co-created Metalocalypse and the character Deathlock. He directed a bunch. He directed Space Coast to Ghost for a little while.
Oh, did
yeah.
Man.
He, I think he did some Venture Brothers, and
Dude.
he did.
Okay, now I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, he did a documentary called "The Death of Superman Lives: What Happened," which was about the failed Tim Burton, Nick Cage Superman movie.
I've
which
seen bits and pieces.
Anybody that loves this shit, go and watch that immediately. It's fantastic. But he was like a real big loss, and a lot of comics greats kind of went down this year too. I'm sure we're missing tons of like celebrities and writers and all sorts of shit, but you know, Stan Lee died not too long ago. Steve Ditko.
Yeah, that one sucks.
Yeah, Norm Brayfogle died.
I mean, they all suck, but I mean, that was like, I was like, oh, that's Steve.
Yeah, there were a lot of passing this year of comics great. I'm glad that we were able to celebrate so long with so many artists.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that losing John was something I was like, come on, really? Like, I was so mad about it. I was like, we couldn't lose any of these other idiots. We had to lose John fucking Schnepp, you know?
I know. I'm waiting for that moment where there's like a celebrity death that is going to really bug me. Mm-hmm. You know, like really kind of put salt in the wound. Like Robin Williams was one that was really close, but it wasn't the over the edge one. I'm waiting. I want to know who that person is. It's gonna make me go, oh no.
But I think overall, like 2018 was a good year and a bad year. It had ups and downs, and
like every year, absolutely.
It went by too fast and it went by too slowly. There was some really standout art that was produced this year, and there's some really forgettable art that was produced this year. We lost some good guys and we lost some bad guys. But I was happy to be a part of it. I think it was really exciting that you and I started this podcast this year. It's something that I'm happy we did, and I'm very proud of. Even if the quality isn't what it should be or could be, or what we're hoping it to be, I'm just proud that we put out, like 7 episodes?
This is 8, I think, right?
I think it's 7.
This is 7? Mm-hmm. Shut up.
Lucky number 7.
Lucky number 7. This is number 7. Okay, yeah, you're right.
I'm excited. And the world kind of changed. My world kind of changed. We dealt with a lot. And I'm just glad to have made it to the other side. I appreciate your friendship.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody.
Appreciate you, guy.
And,
you're gonna get all emotional.
Right.
So I guess we're getting closer to the wrap up. Before we do that, quick little blurps. What are some of the things in pop culture, gaming, movies, whatever, coming out 2019 that you're really interested in? For me, in game, of course, Captain Marvel. I'm really interested in.
Yeah.
I'm not like dying interested, but I'm really interested.
I like Lee Pace as Ronin a lot.
Yeah,
I like Lee Pace as an actor, so him coming back in
that
Marvel,
made me
Captain
excited.
Marvel makes me really excited.
Lion King for sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait. And then Far From Home, Spider-Man. And then I think is that Joker movie coming out?
Yeah, October.
Oh, Joker.
It comes out around my birthday.
Oh my god!
I know. I'm super
meant to be game wise for sure. I think it's going to be what was I saying earlier?
Devil May Cry.
Devil May Cry 5 for sure. The Resident Evil remake is ridiculously high on my list.
The one thing that I'm looking forward to most gaming wise is RE2 remake.
Yes, that is my absolute number one. Super excited for, like, you don't even know how excited I am.
MK11?
MK11? Is that 2019? Yeah, it is 2019.
Yeah, it's supposed to be March or April? I think it's April.
Oh, Doom Eternal was the other one.
Doom Eternal, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Division 2. Those are, like, super hype. I'm ready for those. I would put a little asterisk next to Anthem. Is something that I'm really hopeful for, but I haven't really been happy with a lot of the decisions being made and a lot of stuff that's going on with that? EA and Respawn and stuff like that. I think it's Respawn. I might be no. I'm sorry. It's not Respawn. Just scratch that. But with EA, period, there's some stuff that I'm not really too thrilled about, and I think Anthem's going to take a hit for it.
Yeah.
I just want something to fill my Destiny void.
Yeah.
I'm over Destiny 2. I'm not really looking forward to Destiny 3 unless there's some ridiculous changes.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping Anthem can fill that void. I know Division will, but
it's something different. Yeah,
I want my space opera sci-fi, so hopefully.
I think what is the name? I think it's Death Stranding.
Yeah,
the Guillermo.
Yeah, and
Kojima. Mm-hmm. I'm interested in that. I want to see how that all plays out.
I think my hater is coming out because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, you guys have hyped this up so much that I no longer care.
The build up is kind of like with Final Fantasy VII remake. It's like, oh fuck you guys.
Either
finish it or don't.
I feel like that's what it's like. Oh, we have another 10-second video from Death Stranding. I'm like, I don't care.
Give me the game.
Yeah.
And if the game comes out, I think it'll be really good. So
I'm
interested to see that.
I feel like he's gotten to a level of like rockstar / artistic status that, have you ever seen like when movies and TV shows parody like a super high artist and it's like they throw shit on a wall and it's like, oh, this is my deconstruction of civilization, like that. I feel like Death Stranding might be that for Hideo to a point where I'm like, your game is so weird and it's so out there that maybe some people will go, oh my god, this is breathtaking, but I am a simple mind and it might not be for me. I'm hoping that's not the case, but
I think Guillermo is someone who can rein that in. He's someone that I think is very artistic, but he knows how to finish a fucking product. Yeah, which I think is really impressive. So I would be surprised if he wasn't involved. I'd probably completely agree.
We will see.
But yeah, we'll definitely see.
I'm really hoping it's something worth a damn. But I don't know.
I'm looking forward to Captain Marvel. I want to see Endgame, of course. That looks fantastic. Joker's probably the one thing I'm most anticipated to see. I want to see that more than anything. There's going to be a bunch of great comics that come out next year. There's going to be a bunch of great books. I'm really looking forward to a lot of things. And the last thing I'll say is that whatever comes forward, I think that you and I will be there front and center to at
sure.
least comment on it. You know, we're definitely going to be like, what do you think about this? That looks like shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But do you want to take us out?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So again, thank you guys so much for listening. Follow us at EOTI_podcast on Twitter. I'm usually shooting out messages and updates on there, so please follow us on that. You can communicate with us via that Twitter spot. And then, of course, endoftheinternetpod@gmail.com is a great way to email us. If you have questions, comments, concerns, maybe topic ideas, anything like that, those are the two best ways to get a hold of us. But yeah, those are the ways to get us on the social media thing, the internet machine.
Yes. We'd like to wish you all a very happy new year. Thank you so much for listening, everyone who's taken the time to listen to the podcast and comment or, find us outside of the internet and tell us in person what you think of it. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great year, and I'm really enjoying doing this. I know our schedule's a little hectic, but we should right that particular ship soon.
Yeah, as soon as the holidays are kind of over.
For the end of the internet, I am Gonzalo.
I'm Marcus.
And you've reached the end of the internet, and this is the end of the episode. Happy New Year's, guys.
Happy New Year's.